It's always better to be encouraging than discouraging. I would rather have somebody come up and say, it's going to be okay, we're going to get through this, than do nothing.
This episode is to the one who has a loved one who is going through cancer. Either they have just been recently diagnosed with cancer or they are walking out a cancer diagnosis. Today I get to talk with my good friend Nick. If you want to see his whole story, it will be linked below about his journey going through cancer, I guess is what you would say. Okay, so I have a lot of questions. I kind of have them broken up into parts. The first are more how someone can be encouraging in really practical ways to either a friend or a family member who's going through cancer. And the other ones towards the end are more emotional questions based on the person that has cancer as well as the loved one that's watching that person go through something really hard. First one, is it okay for someone that has a loved one going through cancer, is it okay for that person to say, it's going to be okay?
Absolutely.
It is.
Sure, why not?
I don't know. It feels, to say everything's going to be okay, there's not that guarantee that everything truly will be okay.
No, but you also don't have a guarantee that you're going to not step out of the house and get hit by a bus.
Right.
So, for me as a Christian, my mom was constantly saying, it is well. And, in the moment, you may have been diagnosed with something, and it's going to be scary for everyone. It was terrifying, mostly because on TV and movies and all that kind of stuff, you hear somebody's got cancer, it's, oh no, the next scene is their funeral.
Right.
That's not what it's like.
But for some people it is.
For some people it is, because it's caught too late. But for the vast majority of people, especially with today's treatments and things that they're doing, because mine was 14 years ago, the treatments then were archaic compared to the things they're doing nowadays. The survivability of the type of cancer I had, ALL, has gone up to like 80%, which is crazy. That's unheard of. They would have never thought they were going to get there, in the 90s, like when people had that. So.
For me to say that it's going to be okay makes me feel like I'm giving someone potentially false hope, even though the statistics may be in a person's favor. Like you said, like no one's promised tomorrow.
Right.
So to say, everything's going to work out, it's going to be okay, like we're going to get through this, that's what stresses me out.
That's a good point. That's a good point. I would encourage people to say, we're going to get through this, more than everything is going to be okay. Because you're right, that is a... You don't know that that's going to be true. Of course, you don't know, you're not guaranteed your next breath. So, I think knowing that someone was there was the biggest thing. Looking back on it, just knowing that when I woke up, the next day, if I did, for me, my mom and dad were going to be there. My sisters were going to be there. Occasionally one of my friends would drive up. It was a long drive, and see me. It's always better to be encouraging than discouraging. I would rather have somebody come up and say, it's going to be okay, we're going to get through this, than do nothing.
Right.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. It's absolutely okay to say things like that because you're there.
So everyone processes things differently, obviously. So how could someone ensure that the person going through cancer is getting from their friends and family like what they need? Since everyone's so unique and what they need, how people process their own emotions. And, some people need space. Some people need to be surrounded by people. Some people like gifts. Other people, they don't necessarily appreciate that as much. How could you guarantee that you're truly being there for somebody when everybody's so different?
Ask them. Like you said, everyone is different. Everyone's going to have a different reaction. Some people are going to be doom and gloom. Some people are going to be, nah, I got this. I have always had the attitude that when something rough happens, I laugh about it. All right, we're going to get through this, just whatever. And my friends and family knew that. And they would laugh with me. They would make jokes. They would, poke fun at me because that's how we were with each other before I got a diagnosis.
Right.
So I would say treat someone as though, they are not the sickness.
Right.
They simply have a sickness. So treat them exactly as you would normally. And, people get sad, people get mad, they get, depressed in normal everyday life. How would you treat somebody? How would you treat that friend, that family member, if they were going through that and there wasn't some diagnosis?
Right.
Same thing.
Did you ever feel like if someone acted, I'm sure people acted differently at points towards you?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In what ways?
It was that that cliche of, what you see on movies and TV and all that kind of stuff. People would be like, "Oh, well, what's wrong?" And I'd be like, "Oh, well, I have cancer," and they would, "Oh, I'm so sorry," just like devastated,
Right.
feeling, and I was always just like, "Okay, well, yeah, thank you, I'm good though, I'm good right now," people's demeanors would change. And again, I go into it, making jokes, laughing. Not all the time, obviously. I had my days. Everyone does. But I think that was the main thing, is that people would get very somber and like I was fragile.
Right.
And they didn't want to scare me or something.
Yeah.
Like I was a frightened animal or something. I don't know. I everyone did that almost.
So you said for people to ask, what the individual needs in that point, and it could vary, I'm sure, from time to time throughout the process. But I think a lot of times when people are in the moment, they don't actually know what they need.
Absolutely. I would say, again, to treat someone that's going through that type of diagnosis, that type of life-changing event, as you would any other day, because they don't want to feel, I didn't, I can only speak for myself, but I did not want to feel as though I was different or changed or anything other than me.
Right.
So, yeah, everyone's, like you said, is going to take it completely differently. They're going to handle things in a different way, and you just have to meet people where they are and treat them like a human, like a person.
For sure.
Like that same person that you've always known,
Yeah, I don't think everyone's gonna, laugh it off or use humor to get through stuff. I think some people are probably terrified and needing to have those conversations all the time, or
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
So I think what you're saying is like so good though. Like however you would treat them just day to day, and like you would know their personalities. Hopefully, if you're close to them, you would know better what they need. But yeah, asking and hoping that they could at least give some type of a solid response. But sometimes people are overwhelmed, I think, in the beginning to
Oh,
be
yeah,
able to know what they need. They may not know. They're probably just processing.
absolutely. Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I in the beginning, I was terrified,
Yeah.
you know, but that is how I deal with things. I make a joke of them. And some people, some people are going to go through that terrifying moment and feel as though all is lost.
Yeah.
And I would say pray for them. I would say be there with them. You could even be a voice of reason for them because their brain is so overwhelmed with the fact that they have just been told you could die.
Yeah.
This could kill you. That alone is terrifying. You go into fight or flight, and you could just simply be a voice of reason, or just be there.
So when you say be there, what about people that can't physically be there? How could they, like, say they have a friend or a loved one that's, across the United States? How can they still be there for that person without physically being there? Or like when you're in the hospital, going through all sorts of tests and treatments, you can't have all your friends, roll up into your room and hang out with you.
Yeah.
So if you can't physically be there, how could someone be there for that person and let them actually know that they're still there for them?
Well, I mean, obviously, with today's technology, heck, FaceTime them.
Yeah.
If you've got that option, you can have a free Zoom call with them on their laptop. My friends sent me a bucket of my favorite candies and a ton of car magazines, and I thought that was really cool. I had one of my friends, we used Skype to talk. Had a buddy of mine, we were playing, we always played video games together, and he would get on and play video games with me. We would get on our laptops, and I'd be in a room, but we'd still be playing this game together. So
Yeah.
it was as though,
You're together.
yeah,
hanging
like
out
nothing's,
still.
yeah, yeah.
Like nothing's weird.
Right, just talking, typing to each
Yeah.
other. So especially with today's technology, I mean, there's so many ways to connect and keep connected. If you know they like a certain band, you could get them buy them an album on, iTunes or something.
I was going to say CDs are not a thing.
No, not at all. Realistically, neither is iTunes. But you could buy them their favorite series of movies, on Amazon or their
Just something.
it's something. Yeah,
Say I'm thinking of you.
right, exactly. It's the little things. When I got in the hospital, there was a huge box waiting for me. It was like a carton looking thing, and it was so full of like Cheez-Its and lemon heads and peanut butter crackers and like jokes people had written. It's just, you can always let them know that you're there for them. Text them, call them,
Yeah. So that's another question. If someone is like waiting for treatments, say radiation, say they're going to go in for surgery, whatever it is with their process, is it rude to message them like right beforehand to say, hey, I'm thinking of you, hey, I'm praying for you? Is that a nuisance? Should you wait? Should you do it days beforehand? Should you do it right beforehand? Wait until after to let them know that you had been thinking of them? I don't know if it's a nuisance to like have someone's phone spammed before they're going into treatment or something like that.
Well, I would say there's no point in which I wouldn't have wanted to hear from someone saying, I'm thinking you, I'm praying for you.
Okay.
If it was bothersome, I could have turned my phone off and
That's a
checked
good
it later.
Right.
But it never was.
Okay.
Like I was texting and talking. I slept so much. So I would see the text when I woke up. I would respond and go back to sleep.
Okay. That's a good point about turning your phone off. I don't know that for some reason it didn't cross my mind that someone would do that, but it makes me, you don't want to wake someone up. If someone's really exhausted, they're going through all the different treatments and their body has just had it. They're sleeping all the time, like you said. They obviously are not going to want to have a phone conversation or respond to texts or get on Zoom or whatever,
Right. I'll tell you right now, no one could have woken me up with a text. I am not a super heavy sleeper, but you would have had to like physically walk up to me and shake me to wake me up. My body was so exhausted, and I was sleeping, 16, 18 hours a day. So again, there's so many options for reaching out and talking to people nowadays, because I actually wasn't allowed to have visitors, basically because of how immunocompromised I was, because I was in a room that was, specially ventilated, and my mom or my dad could be in there
Right.
at any one time. So
for people that do live close by and technically could send like a care package or something like that, what could they put in it that would be allowed in a room, and how could they get it there even if they couldn't come to you?
I would have to say, the biggest thing that I think I would have loved to have is soap, a kind of soap that I enjoyed the smell of. I washed my hands 100 times a day. So if I had had a soap that I was like, oh, this is good, I like this, I think that would have been great. I tell people that all the time. They're like, what can I get them? I'm like, get them soap, because they're going to need tons of it. Hand sanitizer that smells good. For me, because I was immunocompromised, I was not allowed to have any fresh foods. It either had to be packaged and sealed or, like heat treated or whatever. I couldn't have milk, things like that. So I had a lot of like the little instant macaroni and cheese. I was able to eat a lot of those things. And
Which is so opposite, by the way. That's so funny to me.
what's that?
You would think, oh, like he needs to be eating salads and,
Well,
the healthy things,
no, I know.
not instant mac and cheese.
Well, so the funny part about that is my doctors, when I went in, they said, I don't care what you eat, and I don't care how much you eat of it, but I want you to try to eat 5,000 calories a day because your body needs the energy. There's no way I was getting 5,000 calories. Absolutely not. But I was constantly cold, constantly. So a thick, warm blanket would be fantastic. Just things that are washable, or things that do washing, or things that don't have a high risk of holding bacteria, or possibly a favorite food that is, processed and, it's clean. Those type things are great.
Okay.
Excellent things.
Okay.
So,
my last questions are more on the emotional side of everything. I want to know, from your perspective, having had cancer, what would you say to someone so in my case, I was very overwhelmed and scared for the person in my life that was going through really hard things with it. And with treatments and surgeries and all of that in my mind. It's rolling through my head, all the what ifs, what could happen, the bad things, the hard things.
Of course.
And crying myself to sleep at night, those things.
Yeah.
So for me, how should I have responded? In light of this, does a person keep that to themselves? That's what I'm trying to ask. Does a person keep that to themselves? Or do they let the person going through it know that they're having a hard time with it? My question being, does that put too much stress on the individual that's already going through the hard time? Okay? Or does it show I am deeply caring about you in this to the point that it's really tearing me up?
The simple answer to that is it's both. Like, for instance, my mom was there all of the time, almost 24/7. She was going through nursing school at the time. She had a business that she was running, and she was still there. And I genuinely believe that the emotional stress was way harder on her than it was on me. When you see that a loved one is going through something, you have almost the same emotions as the person who's going through it, because they're thinking, oh, I might lose my life. And you're thinking, oh, they might lose their life.
Exactly.
So you're thinking the same thing. You're
Right.
feeling the same emotions. It was helpful for me, for my mom to let me know, hey, I'm really struggling with this. And I was able to encourage her and be like, Mom, it's okay. We're getting through this. And then when I was sad, she would say, it's okay, we're getting through this. So just having that person there, I think it's kind of a given for you to feel emotions, as seeing a loved one go through that, feel those emotions, the same emotions that person's going through. And so to be able to be there and hold them up when they're weak, and vice versa, is very important.
And what would you say if there was a family member or a friend who is extraordinarily in their emotions of fear and sadness over the situation, that is angry with God that this has happened to their friend or their family member? Like, I can't believe you, God. Why did you let this happen to my mother? Why did you let this happen to my friend? Why did you let this happen to my son? What would you say to that, having gone through cancer?
As a Christian, as a believer, I know that the reason that things like this happen, that there is death and decay and bad things, is because of the fall of man and sin and the fall of Adam and Eve and all of that stuff. I know that in my heart. I would tell someone. I would tell someone the same thing. I would say, look, this is what I believe. If someone wasn't a believer, if someone wasn't a Christian, I don't even know what I would say to them if I weren't as well. I've never really thought about that.
Yeah.
I do not believe that God gives us suffering. I think He allows us to go through trials so that we can see His glory even more. But He's always there with us. So even in our darkest times, even when there's not any hope, there's still the hope of Christ. So I don't know. I've never been asked that. I don't know that I've ever even thought thought about that. But it's not God's fault. And it's most certainly not the person's fault that they're going through it. It is it's terrible. And I fully believe that God healed me of the affliction that I had. But I don't know what it would be like going through it, not having that assurance.
Right.
That's mildly terrifying to think about. But I guess my answer is I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, I just know some people will, in their emotions, just get really frustrated and angry because, as believers, we believe that God can do anything, can stop anything, can start anything, like He's in supreme control. And so I think that a lot of people just get really angry and frustrated just out of the not understanding. But I think we're not going to understand many things in life, really with all the trials that people go through. It's like, why do bad things happen to good people?
Right.
It's just the age-old question
It
that
is.
people get frustrated then with God about a lot of times when they are believers and having to see someone that they love go through something really hard.
I believe that everything that happens is God's will. And there are things that happen to people because other people are acting on evil or acting on sin or acting on those things. And God loves us enough to give us free will. And in that free will, some people take advantage of that and use it to harm others. But God doesn't do that.
Right.
It's not God's fault that you're sick. It's not God's fault that... but I don't know what I would say to someone who thought that. Because simply saying, it's not God's fault is not going to alleviate that.
No.
I think the best thing you could do for them is pray for them and, again, let them know you're there for them. And I think it's just part of that cycle of, you come to that point of anger. And I will say, God is big enough to handle that. You're not going to offend God by blaming Him. You should not curse God, but you're not going to hurt His feelings because He still loves you, regardless of what happens.
For sure. So if someone shuts down in their process of dealing with all the hard things that they're dealing with in cancer, and they just shut down, they pull away, they're not talking, do you give them space, or do you kind of press in more and to ensure that they know that you're there and that you're, ready to talk, ready to provide anything that they need? Or do you just give them space because they've shut down? Maybe it's from just all of the overwhelm, or maybe they've gone into depression with it all, or whatever the case is. If they pull away, what should a person's response be to that?
I would say you can always be with someone, even if you're not talking to them, even if they're not talking to you.
In person? You
Yeah.
mean? Okay.
Yeah. I most likely would have gotten deeply depressed if all of a sudden everybody pulled away from me because I didn't want to talk or I didn't feel good or whatever a particular day.
Right.
So don't ever walk away. You can be silent, but don't walk away.
That's good.
That would not be a good thing to do.
Okay. The last question I have deals with what you discussed in your personal story that you spoke about, with the after effects coming out of cancer and just living life afterward. For people that look different physically, like major physical changes, because some people that go through different cancers deal with different things, that they just look physically different.
Yeah.
How can you encourage somebody when they look physically different than they did before going into cancer?
You knew me prior. I looked like Justin Bieber with ripped up pants and a skateboard.
And red hair.
And red hair, red wavy hair. I came out of it looking as though I had swallowed a couple of inflated balloons with almost no hair, and I could barely walk. I was still me.
Yeah.
I still felt like me. I looked in the mirror and I was like, I don't know who that is. I found it comical because that is my way of dealing with things.
Right.
If you were speaking to someone who was depressed because they looked different, I would encourage them that they are still the same person that you know, that you love. There's nothing wrong with them. It's that old cliche of everybody is beautiful in their own way, because they are. And you are just now a different way, but
That's
you're no
true.
less beautiful. You know, like I drastically changed the way I look, you know, going through that, and I personally didn't feel as though I was different. I didn't feel different.
On the inside.
Yes.
Just who you are, your personality.
Right, I was the
likes, dislikes,
same old
everything.
guy, but that's not entirely true. Definitely came out on the other side with a much stronger belief in God and miracles and what He can do for us. But barring that, you know, my playful personality, stuff like that, was unchanged. Again, it goes back to treat them exactly like you would prior to that.
No matter
They're
what.
still the same friend. They're still the same husband or buddy or whatever they are to you. I mean, everyone's going to get old and everyone's going to look different eventually.
That is a solid point.
So,
No one stays looking the same.
right, no one's ever going to stay looking like they did when they were 19.
No.
So, it may have accelerated a little bit for some of us, but look, you know, we're still the same people. So,
Yeah.
I feel like I look like I'm 95,
You
but
don't.
I'm just saying, that's the way my body makes me feel.
But does that upset you?
Not at all.
Okay.
I think it's hilarious.
But some people might be upset.
Absolutely. But that's just how people handle things.
Yeah.
Like, everybody's going to handle something different. Again, just ask them.
Just ask them, and regardless, just treat them the same.
Exactly.
Like nothing has changed.
Right. Still the same person.
They're still the same person.
Just love
yeah.
them. I mean,
Just love them. Okay, I think that was my last question. I thank you so much for talking with me. I've learned a lot, and I hope our listeners have learned a lot as well. I thank you for watching, and we'll see you again next time for a new story.